on today's episode of Captain Quality.
Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of Captain Quality. Today we got this 2006 Audi A4 with the 2.0 turbo. We will be doing a valve cover gasket because it's leaking oil, and we're going to do a tune-up while we're at it because this car is about 120,000 miles. Never had one done before, and we want to get it going. Stay tuned, we're going to show you how this is done.
What up guys, I'm Gavin, and I'm going to be doing the tune-up on this Audi A4 today. And we're going to start with some basic tools. So what we got over here, we got torque set, Phillips head screwdriver, 1/4-inch ratchet, 1/4-inch torque wrench for the valve cover, and spark plug socket set. So we can get under the hood here, and we're going to gain some access to this valve cover by removing a few basic things. Start with this cover right here. It's just some rubber grommets, and it should just pull right off. Set that to the side. Next step on this, what we're going to do is we're going to remove this intake right here. There's 2 Phillips head right here, so we can start with those. Now that those are removed, you should be able to pull this out here, and they should pop right out there. Set these to the side. So let's get to work now on removing this coil pack harness, and what it's going to be is 2 T20s to start. Now, next thing we're going to do is we're going to release these clips on these coil packs so we can get them out. Push down, in, and then pull back. Some of these were damaged, so. So now next, we're gonna remove these coil packs. Should just pop right out. It's gonna gain access to these spark plugs. And we're also gonna be replacing these anyway, so we're setting them to the side. To speed up the process a little bit, I have an electric 1/4-inch ratchet, and I'm going to zip these top 2 T30 timing cover bolts out of there. So now that we have those out, we should be able to slip the valve cover off, and we could also now check out our timing belt to see if that's ever been done and the condition of it. So looking for cracking. So now I'm going to show what else we have going on to get this valve cover out of our way. What we have is some hoses attached here. They're going to have to be removed, and this is a one-time use clamp. So we're going to be replacing that with a regular style hose clamp. And then up here we have these clips. They're going to have to be squeezed and pulled out. So let's get to it. Now I'm going to use a flathead to get this one-time use hose clamp right out of our way. Just going to pry, get that out of our way. That's disconnected. Should be able to wiggle that out of our way. So I was able to use pliers and a flathead screwdriver to get this hose to release from the valve cover. It was on there pretty good. So that just comes out of your way there. Wiggle this loose. Start to pull back. As you twist, it should come right off. Now let's go ahead and remove this hose. Squeeze these two and pull back. Comes right out. Same thing with this hose. Squeeze the 2 tabs. And be careful because these can be very brittle, especially on an older car. That's disconnected. Now this hose here is the last hose we're gonna remove. All right, so now that we got everything disconnected, we're ready to remove these valve cover bolts so we can remove this valve cover. These outside ones. So a very crucial part of this process is cleaning up both mating surfaces of the valve cover gasket to make sure that you have a good seal on the new gasket. So we're gonna use some brake clean and a rag to clean this up, and if need be, a razor blade, but we have to be very cautious not to gouge it when we do that. Now we're just going to remove this gasket.
Put that back in there.
So a quick brake clean and wipe down, and this thing's ready to go back on with the new gasket. As I mentioned, we might need the razor blade for some tough spots on here, so right near these coil packs where it seals is where we have some gunk buildup, and we could just delicately scrape this without getting much in the engine. So here we got the Felpro valve cover gasket to replace that old one. Much more malleable, should seal up real good. And we're gonna put on the valve cover and then throw it back on the car. Want to get the correct orientation on this. Make sure it seats very nicely. Now that we ensured the gasket is properly sealed all around, it's not sitting up in any spot, the valve cover is sitting properly, we can start to hand tighten these down. We're going to start in the middle and work our way out. And we're not going to go too tight because we are going to torque these to factory spec. So now we have our torque wrench with an extension and a T30, and we're going to torque these to spec. The factory spec on this is 10 Newton meters, which is 89 inch-pounds. So we're going to start with this one right here, I believe. Yeah. So the reason why we do torque these is to prevent warpage of this valve cover and also prevent from pinching the gasket by over tightening or under tightening to ensure that this job is going to have longevity to it and there's going to be no leaking. So we're just going to go back through these and make sure that they're all still tight. Now to finish up this valve cover job so we can move on to the spark plugs and coil packs, we're going to just connect the last of the hoses that we removed. Now run through our checklist. Alright, so now we're just going to run through a checklist of what we had to do to make sure that we did not miss anything when putting this valve cover back on. So we have our two hoses right here, both with clamps on tight. This hose right here, clipped in. Then we have this one back here, all the way in. And this last hose right there, snugged all the way up. Along with these two front timing cover bolts are also tight, and the valve cover bolts were all torqued to spec in the proper sequence. Alright, so now we're going to remove these spark plugs so we can put the new ones in. And we're going to do that using a socket for a spark plug with an extension on it. And a 3/8 ratchet. Crack them loose. And get them the rest of the way out by hand. So we're going to be replacing these old spark plugs with new Denso Iridium plugs. next we got 3 coil packs that we're going to be replacing because this customer had already replaced one of them. So we're not going to sell him something that he doesn't need. These will clip right into place. Make sure you push them all the way down in there, you'll feel them seat. Just like that. Now that we've got the coils fully seated, we're going to be hooking up this harness.
Day.
Final steps, we're going to throw in our engine cover, line that up with our oil cap, and push it down onto the rubber grommets. Next, we have our intake that we're going to assemble. Can start with this piece. Going to get it so you can see the holes from the top lined up for our Phillips heads. Now we're going to properly get these seated into the clips over here. This goes in between the housing and the clips. Start with the bottom, get those in, and then make sure we get clear on these top ones. All right, now that we got these last 2 steps out of the way, that's a job well done on the valve cover gasket, spark plugs, and coil packs, and this thing's ready to go.